In history, love is often seen as something soft, emotional, and vulnerable, but in rare moments, it transforms into the most powerful and dangerous weapon imaginable. This is the story of a queen who understood that hearts could be influenced, controlled, and conquered just as effectively as entire kingdoms. She did not rely only on armies, weapons, or traditional power, but on connection, perception, and carefully calculated emotion. Where others saw romance, she saw opportunity hidden beneath human desire. Where others saw relationships, she saw leverage, influence, and long-term strategy. And she used that understanding not just to survive, but to shape the course of history itself. Her name was Cleopatra, one of the most intelligent, strategic, and misunderstood rulers of the ancient world. A queen whose charm was never accidental but carefully controlled, deeply intentional, and politically effective. She ruled Egypt during a time when powerful empires were competing for dominance and control. And in such a world, survival required far more than strength. It required intelligence, timing, and strategy. Cleopatra was not just a queen, she was a master of politics, languages, and human psychology. She understood how people thought, what motivated them, and how influence truly worked beneath the surface. While other rulers relied on force, she relied on perception, emotion, and psychological advantage. She knew that the right connection at the right time could be more powerful than entire armies. And she used that knowledge with precision, patience, and calculated intent. Egypt, her kingdom, was wealthy and culturally rich, but politically vulnerable to stronger powers. And Rome was not just another empire, it was the dominant force that could decide Egypt's future. Whoever controlled Rome's favor could control survival itself. Cleopatra understood this reality better than anyone around her, and she built her strategy around it from the very beginning. Her first major move came with one of the most powerful men in Rome, Julius Caesar. Their meeting was not accidental or romantic by chance, it was carefully planned and strategically executed. Cleopatra needed protection and support, while Caesar needed influence in Egypt. What followed was more than a simple alliance, it became deeply personal and politically powerful. Their relationship strengthened her position and secured her control over Egypt. Through emotional connection, she gained protection from external threats. Through charm and intelligence, she gained influence over one of Rome's most powerful figures. And through careful strategy, she gained stability in an unstable world. But Cleopatra was never focused only on the present moment. She was always thinking several moves ahead. After Caesar's assassination, the entire balance of power in Rome shifted suddenly and violently. Once again, Cleopatra found herself in a dangerous and uncertain position. But instead of reacting with fear, she adapted quickly and strategically. She understood that survival required forming a new alliance. This time, her focus turned to Mark Antony, another powerful Roman leader. Their meeting would become one of the most famous and influential relationships in history. But like before, this was not just about emotion, it was about power and long-term strategy. Cleopatra presented herself not just as a ruler, but as an equal partner in power. She impressed Antony with her intelligence, confidence, and commanding presence. And soon, their connection became both deeply personal and politically significant. Together, they formed an alliance that was both powerful and dangerous. Through Antony, Cleopatra extended her influence deep into Roman political systems. Through Cleopatra, Antony gained wealth, resources, and strategic support. Their relationship became a symbol of unity, but also a source of growing tension. Because not everyone in Rome accepted this alliance. To some, it was seen as dangerous and destabilizing. To others, it was viewed as a threat to Roman authority. And to their enemies, it became the perfect weakness to exploit. Especially to Augustus, who saw them as direct rivals. He understood that their bond was powerful, but also vulnerable. Augustus began to turn public opinion against Antony and Cleopatra with careful strategy. He framed their relationship not as strength, but as weakness and manipulation. He made it appear as if Antony had lost control of himself in his judgment, as if he was being influenced and distracted by Cleopatra, and slowly public support began to shift away from them. What was once a powerful advantage became a dangerous liability. Their love, once strategic and effective, became a political target, and soon it became the center of a full-scale war. The final conflict came at the famous Battle of Actium, a moment that would determine everything. Their combined forces faced Augustus in a battle that would shape the future of empires. The stakes were higher than ever before, with everything on the line. Victory meant survival, control, and continued power. Defeat meant complete collapse and the end of their rule. The battle was intense, carefully planned, and filled with tension. Every move mattered. Every decision carried consequences. But in a critical moment, Cleopatra's fleet withdrew from the battle. Antony, unable to ignore her, followed her retreat. And that single decision changed the entire outcome. It led directly to their defeat. After the Battle of Actium, their position collapsed rapidly and completely. Support disappeared, and their enemies gained full control of the situation. The empire they had tried so hard to protect began slipping away. And this time, there was no strategy left strong enough to save them. Antony, facing defeat and humiliation, chose to end his own life. Cleopatra was left alone, surrounded by loss, pressure, and uncertainty. But even in defeat, she refused to lose control of her fate. She would not allow herself to be captured and displayed as a symbol of defeat. Instead, she made one final powerful decision. She chose her own ending. Cleopatra's life was never just about love, it was about control, intelligence, and survival. She used love not as weakness, but as a calculated and strategic weapon. She turned relationships into alliances that shaped political outcomes, and emotions into tools of influence and power. Few rulers in history understood power at such a deep level. But even the strongest strategies have limits that cannot be avoided. And even the most powerful relationships can be turned against you. Her story is not just about romance, it is about how power truly operates. It is about perception, influence, timing, and human psychology, and about the cost of playing for power at the highest level. Cleopatra remains one of the most fascinating and complex figures in history. A queen who used every tool available to her with precision and purpose. A leader who understood both strength and emotional influence. And a strategist who transformed love into a weapon of war. Her rise was intelligent, calculated, and remarkably effective. Her fall was tragic, complex, and unavoidable. But her impact was powerful and unforgettable, because she changed how power could be used and understood. Not just through armies, but through human connection and influence. If you found this story powerful, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more cinematic stories of power, strategy, and the rise and fall of empires.